Good evening. It is Wednesday, January 11th, 2023, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamb Sports Show. I am your host, David Lamb, and with me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you, esteemed audience member. Oh, gosh. All right, let's tone it down. Not that.
Okay. I mean, they love you here.
For some reason.
I don't know.
Still trying to figure that one out.
You're the best part of the show. That's what it is. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com. And please check out our webpage. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on lambsports.com. NFL playoff matchups are set for Super Wild Card Weekend. When did it become super?
When they add the extra teams.
That made it super all of a sudden? Is that we had another game?
Kinda. I mean, I thought it made it kind of super.
I don't what happened to regular wild card? What if I just want regular wild card weekend? I can't get that anymore.
It's still around.
This might just be one of those weekends.
You just gotta tune into a different part of the wild card weekend.
I don't like it. I don't like change. I'm reluctant. That's all I'm saying. Super.
That's fair.
You can't call it super unless it's absolutely going to be super.
Well, I mean, it seems like it is.
Well, it was last year, and that all of the playoffs were good last year, actually. So. I'm okay with it until it's not, I guess, is what I'm saying. We're going to talk about the Portland Trailblazers, the NBA in general. We're going to look at some teams and kind of figure out. We're at the halfway point. I mean, it's 41 games in. So we're going to kind of figure out who should be there and who shouldn't be there and who we think might get there a little bit later on in the show after the NFL. We're going to talk about the NHL and the Kraken, who are hot, by the way. Last year, you couldn't get a ticket to a Kraken game unless you paid like $500 because it was the inaugural season.
Yeah.
This year, you can't get a ticket to a Kraken game unless you pay $500 because they're good.
For an entirely different reason.
It's a whole other reason.
Well, let's be real. If you're fans of the Kraken, you're not mad.
No, and if you live in Seattle and you go to those games, great, good on you. But I might never see a Kraken game at this rate.
I am. We can talk about this more up here, but I'm working a connection. Austin's lady's uncle has season tickets to the Kraken.
Oh, nice.
So I'm trying to work a connection to go to a game.
Nice.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, let me know how that works out.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, maybe we do a Parker live at the game kind of a thing.
It was Pandalarian. Yeah, I'm down.
And all I could think was she hadn't given me my casserole dish back. Stupid. All right, so it's already gone. It's already off.
Yeah, I sent it off the rails, and I didn't mean to.
First segment of the show brought to you by The Range in Yakima. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination. If you haven't been to The Range, come to The Range. It is a fantastic place to come shoot. It's inside. It's air conditioned. Well, I wouldn't call it air conditioned. Let's call it climate controlled. It's not super hot. It's not super cold.
How diplomatic.
Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't rain on you. There's no wind. It's great. 34,000 square feet of range facility in general. But they do everything. There's gunsmithing. If you need something fixed on your gun, there's retail sales. The shooting range is fantastic. Everything you need. You don't even need anything. You can just show up and they will provide you with everything you need to go shoot if you're a first-time shooter. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number is 509-571-1449. Make sure you mention the Best Lamb Sports Show. So involved in that is training, right? Super important.
Sure.
But safety is like number one, and then training to make sure that you're a responsible gun user or gun owner.
Sure.
And it's fantastic. So you've been.
Yeah, it's blast. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, there you go. We're going to talk about, first thing we're going to talk about, though, by the way, is the U.S. men's national soccer team and the rift that has developed between the Reynas and Gregg Berhalter, the U.S. men's national team coach. for those of you who don't know, Claudio Reyna was a teammate of Gregg Berhalter back in the 2000 late 90s, early 2000s era U.S. men's national team. Claudio Reyna was the captain, and Gregg Berhalter one of the defenders. And they've grown up together. They actually played soccer together in high school. Their kids played soccer together. They have daughters who went to college at North Carolina and played together. Their wives also played soccer together at North Carolina. So what happened was there's a rift now. There's a feud. Giovanni Reyna, Gio, the son of Claudio, and Danielle, was on the U.S. men's national team and didn't get to play much in the World Cup. Gregg Berhalter said some things about him that were less than flattering, but
it's diplomatic, yeah.
Yeah, less than flattering. Let's just call it that way. I mean, he's not sugarcoating it. He's just saying, hey, the kid wasn't ready. He wasn't emotionally there to play in this World Cup. So he didn't play much. And mommy got mad. And yeah. And so the best way that I can say it is that mommy decided to release information about a 1991 incident between Gregg Berhalter and his wife, his now wife, Rosalind, about a altercation they had outside a bar. Berhalter kicked his wife in the heat of an argument 31 years ago. And they've been married for 25 years, by the way, since then. So clearly she forgave him, and they got married. And so then Danielle Reyna says, oh, well, it wasn't about him. It was about the comments, and it wasn't, I don't like the unflattering comments about my son, and I wasn't trying to get anyone in trouble. Well, that's BS. You're absolutely trying to get someone in trouble, because Gregg Berhalter, once this all comes to light, Gregg Berhalter says, yeah, it happened. I admit it. I own it. It was bad. I've learned from it. I grew as a person. We grew as a couple. Clearly, we're married now, 25 years, right? And we're better for it. And then Danielle Reyna says, oh, well, you're devaluing what actually happened. You're not, it was more severe than that. Which, if you weren't trying to get anybody in trouble, why would you say that? And so there's the problem is you have a soccer mom angry because her son was cast in a bad light. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. This is where sports parents have gone, and we've seen it before. You see it in high school, you see it in Little League, you see it in all these lower levels where everybody thinks their kid is the best kid, right? He's the best player. But now we're to a point where this is a U.S. men's national team. This is not Little League. This is the highest level of international soccer, and you've got a soccer mom angry about the way she feels her son has been treated. And I am not okay with this mentality of what does that do for Gregg Berhalter? No, what does it do for the U.S. men's national team? What if Gio Reyna is going to continue to try and be on the U.S. men's national team? If you were the next coach, if Gregg Berhalter doesn't keep his job and let's just say something happens and somebody else gets hired, would you have Claudio Reyna or Gio Reyna on your team? Knowing that the mom is out there and she might dig up crap on you? I would not. I would not have him on my team. That's just my take. I would not. He was absolutely done with the U.S. men's national team. Whether Berhalter or somebody else stays, he is done as a player. I'm just saying, because I would not want that on my team. Not the chance that it's going to happen again.
Right.
Whether he's the best player in the world or not, I would not play him on my team. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel, but that's how I feel.
I mean, so one, I wouldn't. So I remember when YouTube first started, you could watch like all sorts of videos and things like that. And I remember watching videos of like brawls at Little League baseball games in the 90s. Yeah. So this isn't a new thing. No. Asshole parents aren't a new thing. So they kind of exist all over. The caveat to this one is that usually the parents don't really know enough about the level of athletics their children are playing at. they don't know enough about what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. They just know what they're seeing, and they don't like it.
Right.
Those parents know what's going on.
Right.
They know exactly like the level that's being played at. They know exactly what's at stake, and they know all the people involved, and they know it all very thoroughly. So they're not your average. You're not your average fan.
No.
But that being said, just deal with it. Yeah, I mean, he's going to get kicked off the team. More than likely, relegated down or something like that, or I don't know, or the coach will leave. I thought I read a report the other day that's saying that he was thinking about not coaching the U.S. men's national team in the wake of all this. But even if you're right, even if the next coach comes in, I wouldn't keep him on the team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, mom did more harm than good because, as I understand it, there's more to this. Like the son went out and got in trouble.
Yeah.
He did something wrong, and then coach punished him for it.
Yeah, he acted immaturely. How let's phrase it that way.
That sounds like a diplomatic way of saying you did something stupid that should have gotten you in more trouble than you did, but because you're in a privileged position, it didn't.
And because we're family friends, I'm not going to say it in a way that makes you sound like you're stupid either.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I just don't. I don't. It's a lot of huff about not a lot. So.
And it is, but it's been a long time coming for something like this to eventually rear its head at this level.
Yeah.
Because it's been happening, like you said, at the lower levels for a long time. And I just expected, I guess, it to rear it. Usually by the time you get to college, it weeds itself out. Your kid's not that good, and he gets weeded out. Right? Yeah. In high school and in little league and in minors or whatever you want to call it, you're still convinced that your kid is the best. But by the time they get to college and they're playing against the best other players, it usually weeds itself out. This is the next level up, which is amazing. That I mean, I've watched him play soccer. Gio Reyna, he's really good. I mean, he is a good addition. If he's still immature, it's because he's immature. Number one. I mean, he's not very old. Yeah. He's 18 or whatever he is. 18-year-olds make stupid choices. That's just what they do. Everybody was 18 once, and anyway. He's 20, by the way, Gio Reyna.
Yeah.
Which is still, young enough to make stupid decisions.
Yeah, I mean, all coach said about him was that he said that we're gonna have a conversation with him one more time. Part of the conversation is how to behave. No more infractions. You're gonna have to apologize to the group. Blah blah blah. This is all that happened. Boy was being stupid. Yeah. Coach did what coach does. Mom didn't love it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's if it happened on a little league playground, it would be nothing.
It would be nothing. Yeah.
It would be nothing. Right. So, and guess what? It's going to end up being nothing because because this all came out after the World Cup.
Other than I think you got two lifelong family friends who are not going to be friends anymore.
Oh yeah. I mean, not only that, like Reyna, Miss Reyna made a decision that, okay, well, maybe I never liked Gregg, but I was friends with his wife,
right?
And I just put her husband on blast, tried to get him in trouble, fired, whatever it was,
right,
to the world. Do you think she's going to be cool with me?
Yeah, we weren't trying to get him in trouble. That's the problem. Is that statement right there? Well, yeah, you absolutely were. Because you were retaliating, and that's not okay.
Well, but that's why you should never coach like your friends' kids.
It's true. I mean, it's hard. I imagine that's probably super hard to do, and especially telling someone that, hey, your kid is,
not
maybe caused not that he's not good, but maybe caused a problem.
I'm saying that would be harder to tell if somebody. Oh yeah, your kid sucks.
your kid is not as good as you think he is. He sucks. Which would be much easier from a stranger. Yeah. Yep. I don't know. Anyway, but there's an investigation. I don't like it. I think Gregg Berhalter has done a pretty good job as the U.S. men's national team coach. I don't think he's perfect by any stretch, but who has been? U.S. Yeah. It's a tough job being the U.S. coach. The U.S. soccer in general in the United States is a second-tier sport. Yeah. And most of that's because when they play soccer, there's football going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, football takes the limelight. It's not soccer. So you don't get all of the athletes that you get for football. So I think that if you didn't have if you didn't have American football, your soccer program would be a lot better. But Anyway, long story short, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but it'll be interesting to watch. We'll keep everyone updated when they. There are friendly matches coming up in January for the U.S. men's national team, and Anthony Hudson, who's been an assistant to Berhalter for the past 2 years, he'll be the interim coach while Berhalter is on. I don't know what he's on. He's on leave or he's on standby.
Whatever the hell it is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever you call it. It's interesting. I don't like the whole situation. It's a bad look for the U.S. soccer, and like I said, it's a tough enough job as it is because the U.S. should be good at soccer. We should be really good at it. We've got enough people in the country. We should be very good at it, and we're not. We're not. So.
Well, I mean, most of our good players go play somewhere else.
Right, and that's well, I mean, but if they're born in the U.S., you should still have them for the U.S. national team.
But don't we have like a bunch of we have a bunch of guys that go and play for other national teams because they're dual citizens.
And that's probably the problem. Yeah, you get dual.
They're not true.
Well,
necessarily U.S. born like full bore. Yeah.
Right, and if you had a choice, the United States national team doesn't have the history of being really good in international competition. So yeah, I get it. Anyway,
well, like even Giovanni Reyna.
Yeah,
he's born in England.
Yep.
He's an American born in England. Like he probably has some form of English citizenship.
Sure.
So like, what's to stop him from playing for that team? Like it happens all the time. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just I feel like we needed to talk about it because it's a thing that I feel like is going to come up more and more. Yeah. Parents have kind of gone that route.
I feel like parents have always been that route. I feel like sports, since they became like true parts of like, because like back in the day, like most people didn't go to college to play sports. There wasn't money in it, right? Maybe you made it to the NFL, but there wasn't really tiers. There wasn't really leagues. In the 1940s and 1950s, you played football in high school. Maybe you played football in college, right?
Right.
Nothing cost anything really, so it didn't really matter. It was inconsequential. And then maybe you played football in the NFL, but more than likely not. It wasn't a true career path.
Right.
It wasn't until the mid 80s.
Yeah.
When people started thinking, man, if I start investing time now as a kid, I can develop, push, move, and it's a career. It's a legitimate career path, and everyone else is working hard, so I have to work hard. And it became competitive.
Yeah.
And then parents became competitive. But I wouldn't say it's new. I'd say that the parents now are almost no different than they were 30 years ago. They seem about the same.
You just see it more because it's
absolutely
everything is publicized more.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a fight in the stands at a game in 1990.
You never know.
No one had a camera phone.
No. And
right, the local newspaper had to film it.
And it's so much easier now for a parent to throw something out there into social media.
Right.
You know what I mean? And everyone sees it, so it's immediate. But now,
any fight's going to be recorded. So it seems like it's happening more. It's not. It's happening the same amount. People just see it more.
Right. And it's like that with everything in the news, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything bad you can think of, it's mostly just exposure. Yep. People have been jerks for a very long time.
We haven't had 24-hour news network. It's only been it's been a long time. It's been 40 years.
It's been 40 years, yeah.
Yeah, but before that, the same things were happening. And even in the early days of 24/7 news, things were happening. It just wasn't covered as much. You just didn't have as much coverage. Now there's, a million news sources and news outlets and people out there on their own with cameras in their hands that can record news, quote unquote, and publish it immediately.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. So
moving on.
Let's talk about week 18, shall we?
Let's please do.
Because lots of things happened in the NFL week 18. Kansas City 31, Las Vegas 13. The Chiefs wrapped up the number 1 seed in the AFC and a first-round bye. Jarrett Stidham making another start for the Raiders as they look like they're moving on from Derek Carr. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, they already kind of announced that.
Right. So they had nothing to really play for other than to try and knock the Chiefs out of number 1 seed, but the Chiefs are really good. So I didn't think that was ever going to happen, really. Do you still feel like the Chiefs are the best team in football?
Yes.
Okay.
Until somebody proves me wrong, yes.
Sure.
Until they prove me wrong. I mean, even when teams beat the Chiefs, They barely beat the Chiefs.
Right?
Nobody goes out and handles the Chiefs. You barely. It takes the Chiefs being stupid or doing too much or Andy Reid getting his own head play calling wise. That's how you beat the Chiefs. You need them to make a mistake. They were talking that the Bengals have beat the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes has never beat the Bengals with Joe Burrow. I think it's 3 or 4 games he's lost.
Right.
And every time it's 3 points or less. So you're not beating the Chiefs without the Chiefs beating the Chiefs. And there's no other team in the league I can say that for.
No, there's got to be like turnovers or something. You got to have some kind of something that happens. Patrick Mahomes is not going to let you beat him just in general. He's too elusive, and he makes too many plays with his feet, with his arm. He's got too many weapons. He's got too many ways to beat you. Something has to happen, and fumbles are the thing. You know what I mean? Turnovers are the way you beat Kansas City, but they just don't turn the ball over that much.
The only people that seemed like they beat the Chiefs just very cleanly, like no questions asked, was the Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. Yeah. It was like 30-3 or something.
And Tampa Bay's defense was amazing that year.
Yeah, it was incredible.
You need more in order to do it, for sure.
But even then, they still needed Patrick Mahomes to make some mistakes. He threw 3 picks in that game.
Yeah, which doesn't. How many times has that happened in his career?
Nah,
couple, maybe.
So. But yeah, Chiefs are the best team in football pretty easily.
Jacksonville 20, Tennessee 16. The Jaguars clinched the AFC South and a home playoff game with the win. Big question is this, I guess. Was Joshua Dobbs' arm moving forward when he got hit by Rayshon Jenkins and fumbles? Did you see it?
I did.
It happened? Did you think his arm was going for it? Was so close. I mean, I'm not saying it either way. I think had they called it an incomplete pass, I'd have been okay with that too.
It's whatever you ruled on the field. Yeah, it's too close to call. So you need to make a call on the field that either you feel comfortable reversing, like that you can reverse, like they don't, or something like that. But no, I'd say whatever you called on the field is what it was going to end up sticking at.
Yeah, it was one of those plays. Anyway, the fumble happens. The ball scooped up by Josh Allen, returned 37. Josh Allen, by the way. Anyway, 37 yards for a touchdown. That put Jacksonville at 26-16 with 2:51 to play. Derrick Henry had 109 yards in this one, but it took him 30 carries to get there. Yeah. 2 second-half turnovers by Tennessee led to 10 points by Jacksonville, and that ended up being the difference.
Yeah. I talk all the time about unimaginative coaches.
Yeah.
And how in this league nowadays, it doesn't cut it.
Right.
It does not cut it. You cannot have a bland vanilla offense. And Derrick Henry taking 30 carries a game is going to last 5-6 years tops.
When it works,
not going to work.
When it works, it's fantastic.
Right.
But you got to run up against a team that can't stop the run. You know
but then also, like, you've got to put your eggs in, Ryan Tannehill's basket or Joshua Dobbs' basket. Like, you needed somebody good, and you got nothing. Somehow they came out of this offseason, just by having draft picks and other stuff, they came out of this offseason way worse.
I think that Ryan Tannehill might be done in Tennessee. This is early.
I think that Mike Vrabel will definitely get fired. And that's for sure.
That's the other part. I was just going to say.
I don't
know if he'll get fired this year or if it'll be another year.
I think after having a hold of the division and just needing to win like 2 games over the final 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And they lost 7 straight games in the season.
Were terrible.
Yeah, no, Mike Vrabel is done. And they looked like it. They looked like they were going to lose 7 straight games. Every game you would watch them score. Everyone wants to talk about how bad I'm bringing it up again. Everyone wants to talk about how bad the Broncos offense was, but you got to sit here and watch the Titans as a division leader score 15 points a game.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Get this coach out of here.
With the league's number 1 or 2 rusher.
Yeah, I mean, and that's great. I mean, good. He puts up 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. It takes him all game to do it. Now you have 14 points.
And I keep saying, I know he's a straight ahead. He's a big back, and he's a straight ahead.
He's kind of agile.
But get him the ball in space somewhere, and let him run over a cornerback.
As I understand it, he doesn't have the best hands.
Yeah, that's true.
So he needs to take the ball from the quarterback and then bounce outside.
But you as a coach have got to teach him that. Somebody's got to teach him, hey, just keep repping it until he gets it.
I think people learn to tackle. But also he started the last 2 seasons. He's got an injury each season.
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't that size of body.
Yeah.
is great and
down.
It looks fantastic, but eventually those knees are going to start aching. Putting all those extra weights on the damn bar is going to start causing problems.
And when you take 30 snaps, when you take 30 handoffs,
right,
you're going to get hit 30
times by a 240-pound linebacker.
Let's be fair, 25 times. He probably ran 5 times and wasn't touched.
That's true. There was a handful of those where he just ran out of bounds or a touchdown or something.
Ran into the end zone, whatever.
But regardless, his body's not going to last forever. It's starting to show it. And then beyond that, Mike Vrabel's limited play calling is showing even a bigger deficit. And then when you're relying on Ryan Tannehill to make up a 3rd and 12, you really realize you've got a problem.
Yeah, and it's become a thing in the NFL as we move to passing oriented offenses. We not move, but we're there. Yeah. But these run oriented offenses, you take so many more hits and it's so much more punishment that you're seeing a lot of the teams just scrap that, and they're going to versatile backs. Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler. Those guys, those Swiss Army knife guys that can do things, they don't take as many hits. Number one, because they're elusive. But number two, because you can get them out in space and they're not taking a beating by having guys land on them constantly. So anyway, I agree. It's just one of those things where, 30 rushes for 109 yards, that's 3 yards a carry. What, 3.4 or something, 3.3?
Yeah. I think they said the benchmark in this league is that you need to rush for about 140 yards in a game. That's a good volume of rushes. It doesn't have to be one person.
No, as a team.
You need to rush as a team for about 140 yards.
Yeah.
But you also have to pass for 175, 200 is the perfect number.
You've got to be on it, yeah.
So if you can't throw the ball, but great, Derrick Henry can carry the ball for 150 yards. Just like I said, he can carry the ball for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and it looks great on a stat sheet, but you've only got 14 points for the day.
And your issue is you have 2 types of teams in this league. You got the teams like Tennessee. Let's run the ball to open up a passing lane. Right. Okay, that's great. And then you have the teams like Kansas City. Let's throw the ball, and eventually we will run it.
Yeah, throwing the ball opens up their running lanes. Yeah.
So you have those 2 types of teams, and I guess it depends on your defense, what you're good at stopping. You know what I mean? If you're good at stopping the pass, then you match up well against one team as opposed to the other. But it's just it's a story of matchups, and you can't. In currently in the NFL, you would think that a team that can run the ball hard up the middle has an advantage because every other team in the league is passing the football.
Right.
But it's not necessarily true because Tennessee tries to do that and they don't do it very well. Anyway.
Yeah. Tennessee Titans, by the way, fun fact, were 0.6 points ahead, points per game, than the Denver Broncos, who were dead last. 17.5 points per game.
Just barely. They won, 3 more games or something? I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah. It's wild.
Also, Denver's in a tough division. Let's talk about the Denver Broncos. No, we're not there yet. Never mind.
We're not there yet. Let's go somewhere else.
One more game. Cincinnati 27, Baltimore 16. Cincinnati wrapped up the 3 seed in the AFC, and Baltimore finished as the 6 seed, setting up a rematch next week.
I think it's dumb that they do
that. Well, yeah, but it'll be interesting. Will Lamar Jackson be playing for Baltimore next week?
No.
Okay. So if that's the case, then I don't think the Ravens have a clue. I mean, they're not a chance.
No, they don't.
There's no chance they're going to beat them.
No, none whatsoever. They're done.
Because you're just going to play right again in Cincinnati, just the way you did last week, and it's going to be the Ravens loss assured that the Chargers would be the 5 seed. So that was good, but the Chargers were playing at the same time, so really didn't matter because
it was inconsequential.
It kind of was. Let me ask you this: how do you feel about Joe Burrow and Cincinnati? Last year they had this incredible run that took them to the Super Bowl.
Right.
They're kind of on that same thing right now.
Right.
Are they going to get there again? I mean, can they do? I mean, they could. Do you feel comfortable saying, "Hey, this is a team that could beat Buffalo and then Kansas City"?
Not at all.
Were you last year? Could you have said it last year? Would you have said, "Yeah, I feel comfortable as the team that's going to beat Buffalo"?
No,
they didn't. But I mean, if they had to, could they have?
No, I wouldn't have said it last year either. I feel like Cincinnati's been the beneficiary of an extremely weak division.
Oh, it is.
The Browns have been terrible. And all right, you could say what you want about Baltimore last year, right? Baltimore's not a bad team. Baltimore last year, they did pretty well. But I just feel like it all kind of has falling into place for them year after year. I mean, Lamar Jackson isn't playing.
Right.
Deshaun Watson didn't get to play until midway through the season. Like it was their division to take this year.
Yeah.
It's just the Baltimore Ravens last year. Oh, I forgot about that. They were 8-3 and ended 8-9.
Yeah.
Like they gave you the division. They clearly had it, and they handed it to you.
Yeah.
And you only played them once over that period. So
again, that was injuries too.
There's injuries and stuff like that. It is what it is. It's part of the game. But that's the bigger point here is that I didn't think they could. And then what had to happen? The Chiefs. I think they beat the Bills pretty cleanly. Like not like they didn't beat them by a lot, but it just kind of made sense. But the Chiefs looked like they screwed up in that game. They looked like they were out of sync, out of whack. It didn't look like the Cincinnati was doing anything. It looked like the Chiefs were screwing up. And so I just don't think I would not bet on them to do it again and again. Last year I did bet on them to do it, and sure, they did great. And then they played the best defensive team in the league, and it showed. And I just don't think that it'll happen again this year. I think they'll get through the Ravens in the first round, but that's about it.
So last year they beat Las Vegas 26-19.
Oh, the team that shouldn't really have been in there.
Shouldn't have even been in there.
Yeah.
Right? But they beat them by 7. They beat Tennessee at Tennessee 19-16, another team that was struggling.
Yep.
And then they beat Kansas City at Kansas City 27-24 in overtime.
Oh, that's right. They didn't play the Bengals last year.
No, and then they lost.
Because that was the good game. Was Chiefs-Bengals was round 2.
Right.
That's right, because that game was a
gem. That was a good game. That was, that rated right up there with the other. Anyway, the Rams game. But anyway, I don't know. I Cincinnati doesn't, I said this last year, they don't strike me as that team that's great. But
they're doing it well
good enough to win. I mean, they've got great players. Jamar Chase is good, and Joe Burrow makes plays. He just does.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon runs enough.
There were also a couple back-to-back controversial calls in their postseason last year both against Vegas and against Tennessee that let people going,
yeah, that's true.
That's
it's
not
true.
right.
I mean,
so they were the beneficiary of some fun stuff. I think this year, like I said, I think they'll take care of the Ravens, and then it'll be a quick second-round exit for them.
Let's talk about, and this is all. Yeah, let's talk about Denver.
Okay.
31-28 over the Chargers. Chargers coach Brandon Staley made a questionable move, playing starters into the third quarter in a game that they didn't really need. I mean, they didn't at that point in the middle of the game. They still don't know that they're the number 5 seed, right?
Right.
Because Baltimore's still playing.
Right.
And I get that. Justin Herbert took a big shot in the midsection. Mike Williams and Joey Bosa both left the game with injuries. Mike Williams might be the more severe of the two. I don't know how he's coming back. I don't know what his situation is. But those are big losses. Mike Williams is a gigantic loss. When you have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen on the field at the same time, it is a gigantic advantage. If you have just one, not so much. And the fact that Bosa came back and it was his first game back.
Yeah.
And now he gets hurt again. He might have just rushed it back because that's what players do. But anyway, kudos to Denver for winning, that game in general, and not having nothing to play for, and still coming out with a win. So it was a good win for them at home. I don't know. How do you feel about the Chargers now as they are the number 5 seed and they're going to be playing at Jacksonville in the first round of the playoffs?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game.
It is, right?
That's not a great game for them. That's not a good matchup for them. I don't care about the injuries because both of them are reported as they're both fine.
Probable.
No, Joey Bosa's fine.
Oh, right.
He's being held out of practice precaution. Mike Williams is, like you said, possibly more severe, but they're saying that he's okay, and he's also being held out as a precaution. So TBD on them, but I think they'll both be fine. Justin Herbert's a tough guy, so I don't think that matters. I think you play your players. Like, you can't stop them mid-game. Be like, oh, wait, actually, come on now. We just heard. So it is what it is. I mean, that's what they did in the fourth quarter. But
this game was everything you wanted out of a Denver team, by the way. Russell Wilson, 13 of 24, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns responsible for. Murray, 15 carries, 103 yards and a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy, 5 catches for 154 yards.
Yeah.
They did everything right. This is the way we're hoping Denver would look right from the get-go, right?
Right.
For whatever reason, it didn't. How long is Russell Wilson a Bronco?
At least for another year or two.
Another year, right? As long as he's under contract.
I mean,
I don't know.
It depends. It does. Well, no, it doesn't. It does not depend. At least one more year, probably 2 or 3, assuming production jumps up, which already in the last 5 games of the season, it did.
It's a lot better. Yeah.
He turned over play calling duties against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So that I can't remember when that was, but we scored 28 that week.
Yeah.
And then the next week he was fired. We scored 24. And then the next week against the Rams, we had dud and 14. And then 24 and then 31. Already we are pacing up remarkably better.
If the Broncos don't markedly improve next year, this is my question. They're 5-12 this year.
5-12.
Let's assume that they can get to 8-9.
Sure.
If they don't make that kind of improvement, does anybody take Russell Wilson from you? I mean, would anybody take him in a trade? You're obviously going to get a trade, and he'll be somebody.
Is he still playing badly?
I mean, that's the question.
That's what you want to know. That's what everyone is going. You can't make that declaration right now because no one knows if this was Hackett's fault or Russ's fault.
You got to change
ask
something.
a Seahawk fan, it's because Russ is garbage and trash and blah 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 blah
right,
blah.
Right.
Whatever they say to cry themselves to sleep at night, knowing they're going to get a quick first round exit underneath that sweet Geno Smith arm.
I think there's going to be a lot of quick first round exits, by the way.
49ers are. We'll talk about them in a minute, but but yeah, I just don't think no one's in a position to say. So if next year they come out and they're scoring 25, 26 points a game, Russell Wilson's throwing his career average like 65 to 70%, somewhere in the one's like 66%. And he's got that better touchdown interception ratio. You're like, okay, well, clearly Russ was not the issue.
Right.
Over the last 5 games of the season here, I would say clearly Russ was not the issue.
He looked a lot better the last 5 games, like you're talking about.
Sans against the Rams.
I mean, you're gonna have a bad game. That happens. Even if you're playing well, there's games that come up where you just go meh. But you just don't get off to a start. Everything goes bad right from the get.
Also, it was a Thursday night game.
Week.
That was Christmas. That was Christmas Day game.
Was it Saturday?
That was Christmas. Yeah.
Sunday.
Russell Wilson, and Baker Mayfield was there with like all the energy and buzz and stuff like that. That was Baker Mayfield's first game with the Rams. Yeah. So everyone was like, "Watch out."
He did well. I mean, I don't think Baker Mayfield is a bad quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. I mean, serviceable. Let's put it that way. I just don't think that he's been on the team. Cleveland had some issues, right?
Cleveland had ownership and GM issues. Yeah, they made a lot of bad decisions.
And so where does he get shipped to? He gets shipped to the Rams, who are having their worst season.
And GM issues. Yeah,
and injury more than anything. You know what I mean? They've got a lot of problems.
Oh no, I thought he got shipped to the Panthers, who were having ownership and GM issues.
Yeah.
And then he gets shipped to the Rams, who are having the most injury-plagued season I think I've ever. Well, I want to say that, but the 49ers always seem to have 20 guys injured by week 3, and then they're all back by week 12.
This has become a big thing in the NFL. The injuries are what drive most of the games early in the season, for sure.
Those poor 17-game seasons, man, it's taking its toll.
You lengthened the game. You took out preseason game, and you have less guys playing in the preseason. So when they come into play in week 1, I don't think they're ready. I just feel like they're not ready to play. And so injuries happen week 1, week 2, week 3 because these guys haven't played at all. They're not in any kind of shape to play full game speed because we played 6 plays in the preseason. Well, I don't think that's enough because,
I agree.
In the past, that's not the way it was, but I don't know. I get it. I mean, I get you don't want to get hurt in the preseason and lose your star, but if you lose them in week 1, is it the same thing? So I don't know. What do I know? I'm an idiot.
Neither of us know enough.
Yeah, we clearly nobody calls us and asks us for
except I could have told you to fire Mike Vrabel like 3 years ago.
And we've been talking about that. The Tennessee Titans are that's one of those teams they're like stuck, right? Yeah. They're stuck with what they do, and until you break free and completely revamp the whole dang thing, you're gonna get the same thing you always got.
But they keep doing this thing where, I mean, so like we saw Marcus went there, right?
Yeah.
And then they hired the coach who was there was okay. The offense looked like it was going well. They fired him, brought in Malarkey.
Yeah.
And it went straight to what I call old white guy offense, run the ball 3 times, punt.
Right.
And then they were like, well, it's because Marcus is trash.
Yeah.
Marcus is garbage. So we got to get him out of here. And then they brought in Ryan Tannehill, and he had a couple good games. You're like, hey, look at that, Ryan. See, Marcus was trash. And now Ryan Tannehill sucks. And you're like, well, what's the problem now?
And it's funny because you bring up Marcus, but you see what Marcus did with Atlanta early in the season. This is a team that was...
I mean, they weren't spectacular, but
that's a terrible football team. I'm going to be honest.
Were leading the division for quite a while,
right.
And then Marcus got hurt, and there's a whole controversy over that, I guess, with Marcus getting injured, not injured, or something like that. And but then immediately they're like, all right, fine, we're going to play Desmond Ridder. And then you suck. He sucks. Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis suck.
If you give them enough time, okay, maybe they'll be decent enough, but they're not great quarterbacks.
They will always be when your starting quarterback goes down and he comes in the game, you go, well, we're hosed.
Yeah, we better run the ball with Derrick Henry.
Yeah, see, this is when you hope you have a Derrick Henry,
right?
But even a Derrick Henry couldn't bail out Malik Willis,
because there's the other thing is that Ryan Tannehill goes down, you've got Malik Willis and now Joshua Dobbs, and I don't think either one of those guys is ready to play NFL football. I mean, Joshua
Dobbs has been in the league for 6 years, 7 years,
but
he is what those guys will turn into,
right?
Like
the perennial backup.
You're perennial backup, but you're never confident that they're actually going to be able to manage a game when push comes to shove. That being said, I mean, they do the same thing. They put Josh Dobbs in. Josh Dobbs, I remember him from college at Tennessee.
Yeah.
I remember what he was capable of there. They put him in. They're like, here, just hand this ball off and walk away. Hand this ball off and walk away. And it's like, why even have an athlete? Why don't you just have like a center do that?
You're not using him the way he should be. And it is the same thing with Marcus. They're not using him the way he should be used.
Yeah.
And that's causing you a lot of problems. And when you got a mobile quarterback who can move, you need to RPO every play. I mean, he needs to be able to have the option. It needs to be a triple option. Fake the handoff. He rolls out. He can run it. He can throw it. Either he hands the ball off to the running back right away, or he rolls out and keeps it and does whatever he does. But you got to give him those options. If you just hand the ball off every time, what's an athletic quarterback for? Why are you doing that? Yeah, you're right. All right.
Yeah. So you got to use them.
Let's talk about Damar Hamlin, by the way, who was released from a Buffalo hospital today.
Yeah.
Which is great. We're all Damar Hamlin fans. I mean, right now, everybody is, and rooting for him to make a full recovery. And I think it's great. The Bills, 35, the Patriots 23, in a playoff must-win for New England. New England wins and they're in, and Buffalo shut them down. This looked like destiny from the get-go. Am I wrong? Nyheim Hines.
It looked a little manufactured.
Nyheim Hines takes the. There had been 4 kickoff returns all season in the NFL for touchdowns. Nyheim Hines had 2 in this game.
I hear you. Looked a little manufactured. Looked a little league says, hey, let him on by.
The first one looked suspicious. The second one, he just ran by everybody. He was faster than everybody. I'm okay with the second one. The first one looked suspicious. I was like, I feel like he could have gotten taken down by somebody. But anyway. Long story short, Nyheim Hines takes the opening kickoff 96 yards to the house, then did it again in the third quarter, taking 101 yards. Those returns proved to be the difference. I mean, they won 35-23. That's 14 points. They would have lost the game 23-21 had those not happened. Buffalo secured the number 2 seed in the AFC, and New England was eliminated because, and I don't have them all. I mean, I got to go further. There's your Josh Allen, your gratuitous Josh Allen picture. Who I still think might be the best run pass option quarterback in the NFL, just because of his size. He runs. I think he's not going to hold up forever, but he runs extremely well because of he's gigantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move. So, because the reason why Miami. Oh, hold on. Let's back up because we're gonna go to the trivia question because we're stuck on New England.
Okay.
The Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. Here's the question. The New England Patriots hold the record for playoff victories with 37. Which team holds the record for most playoff losses in franchise history?
Bengals.
So there's your trivia question. So in order to have playoff losses, you have to get to the playoffs because you only get one a year.
Ain't that true?
Yeah. So anyway. There you go. Bengals, your
the
guess?
Bengals made the playoffs for like 7 years in a row and lost in the first round.
That's a good guess. All right, we'll see at the end.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So the reason that the Patriots are not in the playoffs is because Miami 11, New York Jets 6. Miami's Jason Sanders kicked 3 field goals, the last of which was a 50-yarder with 18 seconds to go that put the Dolphins up 9-6. This was an ugly football game.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Yeah, and capped off with a safety. just to boot. The Dolphins grabbed the last playoff spot.
Might as well make it ugly.
I mean, if you're going to do it right. Dolphins grabbed the last playoff spot in the AFC with the win, and the Patriots lost. Moving on from the Dolphins. I mean, I'm moving on that far, that quick. Just because that's how fast the Dolphins will be eliminated. They're going to play at Buffalo. And, no. Minnesota 29, Chicago 13. Vikings go in as the 3 seed in the NFC. Chicago gets the number 1 overall pick in the draft thanks to the Houston Texans.
There it is.
Yeah, a Houston 32, Indianapolis 31. This was all about seeding for the draft. For the draft, and Houston decided, yeah, we don't need the number 1 pick.
Houston decided not that much about seeding to me.
They didn't tank, I guess, is what I'm saying, and that's great for them. And then they fired the head coach. Lovie Smith is gone. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Houston. Houston is a mess ever since the Deshaun Watson thing happened. Houston has been a mess. They were probably a mess before that, but
they were definitely
let's be honest
before that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I like Lovie Smith as a coach. I don't think that's the situation for him. I liked him better when he was the Illinois coach.
Yeah, that was their good times.
Yeah,
when he's upsetting Ohio State and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think he's a great coach. I just don't think he's been in the right situation necessarily. But anyway, what do I know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Right.
I mean, but everyone's in the wrong situation. They're all going to get bounced out, at any point because they don't have a Patrick Mahomes or they don't have a Josh Allen.
If you don't have that one guy, right? Philadelphia 22, the Giants 16. The Eagles barely hung on to secure the NFC East and the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. New York was playing with subs. They played with some starters, but not in general because they couldn't move up and they couldn't move down. Their playoff seed at 6, right, was already wrapped up. So there was nothing they could do. The only thing they could do was knock Philadelphia out, and they tried. They were close. But it was one of those games where I don't think the Eagles look great. But good enough to win, I guess. And that's all you need at this point in the season.
Yeah, just needed a win.
Yeah, any win is a good win when you get to this point in the season.
That's right.
Because right now, any win is, if you win by 1 point, you're through the next round. That's all you got. That's all you can ask for. But that was an ugly football game too. There was a couple of those. I mean,
yeah, there was.
Yeah, over the weekend. Well, let's talk about San Francisco 38, Arizona 13. Brock Purdy has the Niners coming into the playoffs on a 10-game winning streak. They're the number 2 seed in the NFC. If I had to put $1 on who would win the Super Bowl right now, I'd probably put it on San Francisco.
That's fair. That wouldn't be a bad guess. I wouldn't steer you away from that.
I could see San Francisco, Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Just that would be an interesting matchup, I think. And San Francisco's defense is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. The only team that I don't. There's nothing wrong with that choice.
Right.
It's a good choice. It's very classic. I think the Eagles would be the only team that's really going to stand in their way.
This was J.J. Watt's last professional football game. He had 2 sacks. And what better way to go out? I think one of the best people in the NFL, not necessarily, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Right.
But he's a great person just in general. So I think the NFL's losing a really good person. And that's, yeah. I mean, he had a great career. It's time. I think you could have said 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it's time for him to retire just because of the injuries.
Yeah.
It always happens, but that is a great force of nature. And now he's got to leave it all to TJ. So.
Yeah, TJ is going to be just fine with that.
Oh yeah, TJ's a freaking amazing player too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next.
Let's
and also Cliff Kingsbury is out in Arizona. And we all saw that coming, I think.
Yeah.
In general, I think he's somebody's offensive coordinator dream, but he's not a head coach.
That's fair.
I think the way he plays offense is amazing, and I think he could do the right things with the right people. But I don't think he's a head coach. So that's just personal feeling. I don't know.
I agree. I think it's a good call.
So how about the Cowboys? Washington 26, Dallas 6. Cowboys going to the playoffs as a 5 seed after Philadelphia won their game. Dallas looked terrible in this game. I mean, they, not knowing that what Philadelphia had done, they still had a chance to be the NFC East champions. And they just were awful. I don't know. What do I know? This was another one of those ugly games where Washington had everything going and Dallas had nothing. So
yeah, and you can't quite figure out why.
Yeah, you don't know why that was. And I know the Commanders are not a bad football team. It's just weird. And Sam Howell, right, in his first NFL start, beats the Cowboys. So
what a great story.
It was a good story, and North Carolina product, Sam Howell. Anyway, I always like it when the Cowboys lose. My brother was a huge Cowboys fan, and I hated that growing up.
I mean, everyone hates the Cowboys, so it's
just
not just you.
Just saying. All right, let's talk about the Rams-Seahawks. Seattle 19, the Rams 16. The Seahawks needed overtime to keep their playoff hopes alive. Jason Myers kicked a 32-yard field goal midway through the extra period to give Seattle a chance. Myers missed a 46-yarder off the right upright on the final play of regulation and sent it to OT. The video boards inside the Lumen Field after the game flashed the message, "Go Lions," which they should, because they needed the Lions for sure to win, just to get there. Is Sean McVay going to be the coach in LA next year?
I think so.
Okay, good.
I think that everyone's making a lot of huff of what happened this year, and I don't think it's going to.
It's injury related. I don't think it's Sean McVay.
Right. Everyone's like, oh, he's on the hot seat. Oh, he's dealing with this, dealing with that. Like, I don't think so. I think that nothing is going on. I think that is people wanting to create a story about, is there conflict down there? Is there drama down there? Your best question is Matt Stafford going to be the starting quarterback next year?
Well, are they going to keep Baker Mayfield?
That is a good question.
That's a good question. Right?
I would say probably.
I would keep him. I mean, he's a great backup quarterback.
He's been just fine for you in what's his name's absence. So I would keep him. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll know more probably
soon.
Yeah, soon. All right. So, game of the night, Sunday night. Detroit 20, Green Bay 16. The Lions knocked the Packers out of the playoffs in what could have been Aaron Rodgers' last game. We're not sure.
It's not.
We'll see.
It's not. He just signed a massive contract.
I mean, I get it, but anyway.
It's not. It's not even close.
Okay.
You just signed a massive contract. And they're going to go out and they're going to draft a receiver, and they're probably going to take Devontae Adams back or whatever.
Sure.
Like, it's fine.
Okay. This one had some weird penalties in it, by the way.
Strange.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of really. What's his name? Rasul Webster.
Yeah.
What was he doing? Running up and knocking the ball out of the center's hands. What is going on?
So, one, that wasn't the penalty.
Okay.
All right. So they're penalized. He pushed somebody afterward. So he ran up and tried to knock the ball down.
Right.
One of the linemen stood up and got in his face, and then he put his hand on the lineman's head and shoved him.
But why?
That's what he got penalized for.
Well, why did he do that?
But he was stopping. Why not? They were stopping the play.
I guess.
The refs were running on in to stop the play, and so he was like, "Oh, I'll just walk over here and stop it."
It was weird. That's just a weird thing.
It absolutely was weird, and it seemed like that's what they penalized him for first, and then they called a personal foul. So I'm like, that's not a personal foul. It doesn't. I'm so confused as to what happened. But then they explained, and then you watch the replay, and then you're like, okay, well, he shoved somebody afterward, but only because that freaking Lions guy got all in his crap about walking over there and stopping it, which was a weird thing to do.
Yeah, and then you had Quay Walker.
That's an interesting
getting
one,
ejected, right, for shoving. Now, to be fair, when the Lions medical personnel came on the field, the Lions guy did put his hand on him. Yeah,
he put both hands on him and shoved
moved
him away.
out the way,
and then he shoved him right back.
But here's the problem I have is that, and I don't know his name, but Quay Walker does this, pushes him back, gets the penalty, and gets ejected. I get it. You really shouldn't be putting hands on the medical staff, but he shouldn't have put hands on you either. But secondly, it's number 95 for the Green Bay.
Right.
Immediately after it happens, bumps the medical personnel. Like,
Well,
what are you doing?
It's because the medical walker said something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he did, but
curious to know what he said.
But you can't. But you have to know as a player, you can't touch those guys. That's not okay. I mean,
yeah,
he could have got a penalty
too. Can't touch you.
It's true in theory.
I'm not defending Quay Walker's actions, but what I'm saying is, just like in every scenario, there is an instigator. And the instigator was the medical trainer.
But you have to know the place and the circumstance, and that was bad.
I completely agree. Be smarter. Be smarter than the dumb people around you. This medical trainer came in and did a dumb thing.
And
be smarter.
It's okay.
I completely agree. But this is the problem, though. What is the penalty for the medical trainer again?
He's not going to get one.
No, but like, what would it be?
You couldn't.
Exactly. So we got to punish somebody for this incursion.
Yeah.
Might as well be this guy. We have a full slate of replay cameras. This guy's on the ground. Let's go take a look and see what happened. Oh, well, he put hands on him. So maybe this is a penalty, but maybe we don't eject him because he clearly shoves him, then he clearly shoves him back. It's a competition.
But where do you draw the line? Because if you don't eject him in this one, where does the next guy knock him down? And that's okay, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to draw a line somewhere.
Clearly not. Yeah. I mean,
neither one of them.
Yeah, they did. They have to punish someone.
Neither one of them
punish someone out of this whole thing.
Right. So, well, what I'm getting at is the medical personnel has a right to be out there, and if he needs to push you out the way to get to where he's going to go, that's fine. I'm okay with that, because what if this was Damar Hamlin and he needed to administer CPR and you're standing in the way? Absolutely push him out the way.
That's why they made an example out of him. You just nailed it. Not because it's actually a problem, not because it's actually an issue, not because he actually did too much or not enough.
Could have been.
Because Damar Hamlin just got hurt, and now we're pro medical staff.
We're pro medical staff, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's like there was a period of time in 2020 where you couldn't say a thing bad about a doctor.
And I'll be honest, we should have been pro medical staff anyway, but that's all right.
Well, the players usually are.
No, that's true. I mean,
usually people don't need to be.
It was unusual, but it was just one of those. That on the heels of the Webster thing, it was an unusual penalty situation. It was a bad, terrible.
Hear the audio.
Yeah,
I need to hear the audio because I guarantee.
And the NFL won't release that.
I mean, maybe Quay Walker took exception to being shoved,
and
it was just that simple. And he shoved him back.
But he might have called him a name.
But he might have said like, "Hey, MF, back off," and then shoves him.
I mean.
And then, or maybe that happened when he turned around, and that's why the other guy walked in and bummed. Was like, "Whoa, you need to settle down, man."
Samuel L. Jackson says it all the time, so it's okay.
I'm just saying, like, who knows what was said, and NFL will never release that audio.
The NFL knows exactly what was said, but because everybody's got a microphone somewhere, right? You know, I mean, there's something near you on the field at every given moment.
I'm currently trying to find out what the name of the medical trainer that Quay Walker shoved
was. Good question.
Because I want to see if he's still going to be a medical trainer on the team in like a month or two.
It would be interesting. Anyway, let's I don't know. I could see Aaron Rodgers saying I'm going to quit. I could see it. But you're right. He has a lot of reasons to still keep playing. If they can fix everything that's wrong, and not everything, but I mean, obviously nobody fixes everything. But I mean, I think that if they could undo that trade with the Raiders, that would have been the immediate solution to this whole thing. Christian Walker developed into a fantastic wide receiver, and his number one target, obviously. But if you had him back with Adams, yeah, I'm saying it right. Okay. Anyway, that is different. That's a different situation for your team, and you don't need the veteran Randall Cobb, and you don't need, I mean, you can do some different things. Randall Cobb probably needs to retire too. But anyway, what do I know?
Randall Cobb is always hurt, so it doesn't really matter. He just costs money.
I mean, So what does all this mean?
Wait, hold on. Quick sidebar. The medical trainer's name is T-Shawn Lynch, Dr. T-Shawn Lynch. T.Shawn Lynch. Yeah. So he's got a first name. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
He is a team physician. He's an orthopedist. But he's one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 orthopedists that they have.
There's a lot of limbs out there.
I'm assuming a couple more of them were already on the field.
Well, there's a lot of limbs out there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You gotta have a lot of orthopedists. I don't know.
That's who he is, just so everyone can look him up later.
Anyway, Rodgers and the Packers had the ball with 5:49 left, chance to come from behind. Rodgers passed for Christian Watson on 3rd and 10 from the Green Bay 33 was intercepted by Kirby Joseph. By the way, Kirby Joseph, the first player to intercept Aaron Rodgers 3 times in a season ever, which is weird. But I mean, it happens. So, and then Jared Goff and the Lions offense went for it on 4th and 1 from the Green Bay 15 when 1:14 remained. Got it to seal the win. Yeah. Kudos to Detroit. I mean, I like the fact that they came out nothing to play for other than we don't want Green Bay to go to the playoffs. And they did it. I mean, they came out and played hard. I like that in a team. I like the team that doesn't just fold up and say, oh, we don't want anybody hurt. We're just going to quit. So, I feel like
it's nice to see teams like actually trying, putting in effort when it doesn't matter.
So what does all this mean, by the way? It means we have wild card weekend, super wild card weekend, quote unquote. Saturday, Seattle at San Francisco, 1:30 p.m. on Fox. Your prediction?
San Francisco, say 31 to. All right, you know what? I'm gonna make 2 predictions.
Okay.
Because, and I'm gonna explain why. So we'll say San Francisco 31, Seattle 17, and then the other prediction will be San Francisco 28, Seattle like 29. Because Seattle has this weird way of grabbing a PI on a final drive or a roughing the passer, which, by the way, how did you feel about that roughing the passer call in the Rams game? Or late hit call against Jalen Ramsey? Did you see it?
Yeah.
Questionable. He was being blocked into him.
At most questionable.
And he's allowed to brace himself for an oncoming impact. Geno Smith did nothing to move out of his way any farther, despite there being an entire sideline to do.
But you don't
throw that flag.
You know my personal stance is that I think quarterbacks are offered too much protection to begin with.
Absolutely. But this is where your personal stance, which may or may not be entirely accurate, looks accurate.
Right.
Because this was way there's no way you throw this penalty right now. No, I mean, it was a first down anyway, so it didn't matter that much, but it put him in a big position on a big drive.
What's always tacked on.
Yeah, and that's what Seattle does a lot. Is all of a sudden the game will be kind of tight, and then they'll get a penalty or then another penalty. And you'll be like, what the hell is happening here? And then they'll kick a field goal to win it. Gotcha. Classic Seattle. So, but I think that the 49ers are going to win just fine.
Chargers at Jacksonville, 5:15 on NBC Saturday.
Taking the Chargers in a barn burner.
Yeah? What do you got? What a score?
34-31.
Ooh.
High scoring?
Maybe.
High scoring, yeah. 34-31 Chargers.
Okay. I like it. I'm only taking I'm not even putting myself out there. So there you go. Sunday, Miami at Buffalo, 10 a.m. on CBS. If nothing else, we get Jim Nantz and Tony Romo.
Yeah, Buffalo's gonna destroy Miami.
Okay, what do you got? Skylar Thompson can't pull it out for the Dolphins.
20? No. Let's put him at 30. Let's go. No, let's go 28 to 10.
Do you think? And this is us being controversial conspiracy guys. Buffalo wins the Super Bowl this year?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, all right.
If you were to tell me if Buffalo runs through all their teams, wins the Super Bowl, and then you were to tell me like in 2 years, like, oh, leaked document proving conspiracy, I'd be like, yep. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, the NFL is not above that. I mean, hey,
I don't think any league is.
Hurricane Katrina happens. Okay, New Orleans wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. Hey, 9/11 happens. Patriots win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, New York Giants at Minnesota, 1:30 p.m. Fox. If anybody's going to be on upset alert, I think it's Minnesota.
I think that technically the Chargers are on the biggest upset alert.
They're not upset because Jacksonville's a 4 seed.
But it's not really an upset.
I know, right?
So I would say that I think the Vikings are going to be just fine. I don't trust the Giants' ability to get offense going.
I don't either. But I think Minnesota is one of those teams that if they come out flat, anybody beats them. Everybody beats them.
I mean, it's true, but I just don't trust it. I trust Minnesota's ability to get offense going. I watched them come back from 30 points down in a game.
That's true. They've done that numerous times this year.
I trust their ability to figure it out.
What's the score?
I'm going to call this one a little lower, like 21-17.
Okay. I like it. Baltimore at Cincinnati, 5:15. It's a late game Sunday night on NBC. Rematch. We know that we think Lamar Jackson is not playing. If he
Although
does,
I
does
did
it
just
change,
read a report saying he's looking ready to go.
If he does play, does it change anything?
It changes the score. It doesn't change the winner.
Okay. What's the score?
Cincinnati wins it. If he plays 28-21. If he doesn't play 30, let's say 30 even. It doesn't happen very often. 30 even to 16. Let's call it weird.
Okay. And then Monday night, we got a Monday night football game. Dallas at Tampa Bay, 5:15 p.m. Also, if you're going to predict an upset, that might be the game. Although Dallas is not a team that inspires a lot of confidence in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they'll be fine.
Okay. What do you got? Dallas going to knock Tom Brady out and get him to thinking about retiring again for how long?
You know what? No, I'm going to backtrack on that. I'm going to backtrack on that. Cowboys get knocked out. Let's say Tampa Bay 24, Cowboys 14. They just have trouble figuring it out.
Okay. And they've done that before, so I mean,
then they fire McCarthy, trade Dak, Zeke goes on a bender. I don't know. It's going to be a whole thing.
Goes on a bender. I like it. Second half of the show is brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Boss Kitty, be sure to tune in to BossKittyLive.com for knit-alongs, games, fun, exclusive sales. Go on the BossKittyShop.com website. Get your kitty glitter yarn or a gift card if you're looking for a gift. You can get the virtual gift card. Let them pick it out themselves. That's Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Yarn so boss you'll knit your pants. College football we're going to talk about real quick because that's not where I wanted to go. College football we're going to talk about real quick, even though it was terrible. Georgia clobbered TCU in the. Yeah. I can't even put it. There's no superlative in the national championship game on Monday night in LA, 65-7. The Bulldogs scored on all 6 first half possessions, intercepted TCU quarterback Max Duggan twice to take a 38-7 lead at the half. TCU managed 62 yards on 5 second half possessions. TCU, either Georgia was so good or TCU was just so bad. And it's hard to tell. I know Georgia's good. I get it. But I don't think they're that good. I think it was a combination. What do I know? I mean, what did you feel in that game? It's 10-7 with 4:45 to go in the first quarter. And then and then it's 55-0 after that.
I am of the firm belief that you can get upsets. You can get random things. It does happen occasionally, but for the most part, the teams, I mean, Georgia's had a top 3 recruiting class like every year for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And TCU would have been lucky to break the top 25. That's what you watched. You watched a bunch of 2 and 3 and 4 stars and transfer guys play a bunch of nothing but 4 and 5 star guys. Period. Excluding Stetson Bennett, and everyone can. I'm tired of hearing about Stetson Bennett. He's not that good. Nope. He's got a bit of a deep ball, sure, but he's also got these great receivers.
Oh, sure.
So I'm a little over it, but that's what you watched. You watched better guys who've been better their entire life play guys who were not as good as them.
Yeah,
that's it. It was bound to happen. Like I said, the upsets happen occasionally. You know, TCU upset Michigan. That's wild, but it's not that crazy.
I still think TCU shouldn't have been in this playoff to begin with, from losing to Kansas State. This is me personally thinking. I think you'd have been better off. Well, and the problem was USC lost too. That's what got them in there. But they shouldn't have stayed at 3. They should have been the 4 seed and played Georgia to begin with. And then you'd have had Ohio State and Michigan, which they weren't going to let happen. But anyway, I don't think TCU. I think TCU was lucky to be where they were just to begin with. They played a few games that they should have lost. And that's the hallmark of a team that wins games. But Georgia wasn't. Georgia had like 2 games where they were actually challenged all year, and everything else was just nothing. So you could clearly tell that they were the better football team. Anyway, I don't know. I don't. And the way too early preseason, the way too early top 25 that's out right now already. Georgia's number 1, and Alabama's number 2. Not that anybody knows anything, but I would not bet against Georgia right now the way they're going. No.
Give them a little time. It's ebbs and flows, but it's all coming together.
Oregon's listed as the number 9 in the way too early top 25 from ESPN, by the way. We'll see. USC is rated ahead of them. I think that's still because Caleb Williams is going to be the quarterback next year. I don't think USC has that ability to be that team. I think that Lincoln Riley, as a head coach, is a great offensive coach. His defenses are terrible. And they get beat.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's lacking.
Yeah. I think if you're going to watch,
he's lacking
US,
a little something.
So in this top 25, USC, Washington, Utah, Oregon State, and Oregon are all listed clearly, and I think that's probably smart. I mean, that's probably right. UCLA would be the other team that it would be interesting to see how they're going to recover, but I don't know. The Pac-12 didn't do great in their bowl games.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Oregon was not rewarded at all in any of the polls by beating North Carolina. And that's the problem with the Pac-12 when they have their postseason ties. They're favored in every game. So if you win, you should have won. And if you lost, it's a bad loss. I think all but one game the Pac-12 was favored in. And those are bad tie-ins. You need to be playing teams that are ahead of you for a chance to prove that you won something. Anyway, what do I know? It's college football. It's never going to change. It's the same every time. So anyway, we'll see. We got a lot of time. Oregon did a great job of recruiting. I think Dan Lanning's a good recruiter.
Still doing it. Yeah.
I think their defense is going to be amazing. I think that's a defensive team. If they can rely on the defense and Bo Nix comes back with all that experience, they have some weapons still. It's going to be a good football team. So it's going to be hard to beat them. Washington, with Michael Penix coming back, he's a good passer. Oregon's going to have to find a way to stop that if they want a chance to win. But Oregon State has definitely improved over what they've been. Yeah, it's going to be a good Pac-12 next year. We'll see if USC's there.
Yeah, they will be. They'll be right up there with everything else. But a lot of off season to figure out.
Yeah, we got a long time. All right, next.
Yes, we do.
Let's talk about the NBA real quick. Portland Trailblazers now 19-21 after losing to Orlando 110-106 on Tuesday night at the Moda Center. Franz Wagner, it's Franz Wagner, scored 29 for the Magic, and Wendell Carter Jr. added 20 and 10 rebounds. Portland shot just 17% from behind the three-point line, a 6 of 35. Damian Lillard scored 30 despite being 2 of 12 from three-point line. Blazers now 11th in the Western Conference, currently out of the playoffs, 2-8 in their last 10, lost 4 straight, lost their last 7 road games. That's a problem, for sure. Portland was 9-3, by the way, to start the season, so they're 10-18 since then.
Yeah, they're struggling.
They're struggling.
Everyone thought Chauncey Billups was the answer.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they got time. They still got 41 games, and they're only a game and a half behind the Clippers for like 6th. But still, you're just not winning anything, and you got to win on the road at some point. Tomorrow night they play Cleveland, 7 p.m. at the Moda Center. Cleveland's not a gimme by any stretch, so that'll be interesting to see. So I don't know. I just feel like the Blazers they're missing something still, and I think Nurkic is the one you got to get rid of. We've been saying that last year, but I think that's still the thing. You got to find an upgrade.
Yeah, you've got to move on from. Well, you made this big commitment to a big defensive stand and blah blah blah. You brought in Gary Payton. He's played one game, then got hurt again. Like nothing. It's not working.
Right.
It's not working. Fix the other problems. I mean, Jeremy Grant, great. You made a good move.
Yep.
CJ McCollum leaving doesn't look so bad right now.
Yeah.
Because he's producing on offense, but you got a losing record.
Right.
Just the same as you did when you had CJ McCollum and when you had Terry Stotts. So let's make some adjustments. And let's not wait so long that we pass up opportunities to get good coaches.
Right.
I don't want to hire a former player. I don't want Dame to have a say in our coach. I don't think it's a good thing when players have a say in their coaches.
Nope.
I mean, as a general rule, I don't like it.
What is the coach going to say? I mean, what is when you have a team like Portland? Lillard's the star. He's the guy. He's the go-to man. You want him to have the ball and down the stretch. There's nothing that he can. If he has an input that a guy's going to. How do I say that? There's nothing that coach is going to do differently than other coaches weren't going to do anyway, which is give you the ball when you need the ball, because you're the guy. You're the only guy they have, really. Yeah. I don't know.
It's just they need to do something, and at this point, they still refuse to acknowledge that they have a 4-5 issue.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. The Miami Heat had a historic night as they beat Oklahoma City 112-111 in Miami. The Heat shot 40 free throws, made them all. Jimmy Butler 23 of 23 free throws on his way to 35 points. That seems one-sided. That's all I'm gonna say. In that game, because I would have to go look, which I'm doing right now. Oklahoma City shot 21 free throws. Jimmy Butler shot 23. That seems one-sided. What do I know? But that just seems weird to me. But to make all 40 of them, regardless, is amazing. So let's be honest. That's crazy good. Anyway, that happens.
Practice time's paying off.
It's right. Practice, just more free throws. Seattle Kraken were hot heading into Tuesday night's game against the Buffalo Sabres. They had won 5 straight games, averaging 5.2 goals per game in that span. 4 of those wins coming on the current road trip. Seattle did it again with a 4-3 road win, their 5th straight road win, 6th straight overall. Matt Beniers, Justin Schultz, Jordan Eberle each had a goal and an assist for the Kraken. Currently in 3rd in the Pacific Division with 52 points. They're just 2 points behind the Kings, 4 points behind the division-leading Las Vegas Knights. Seattle plays at Boston tomorrow night. Boston is the best team in hockey, 32-4-4 on the season, leading most categories. The Boston leading scorer is also Boston's leading assist man, and he has more goals and assists than any player on Seattle. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at Boston. But hey, they won 6 straight. To win 6 straight road games is amazing in hockey. It just doesn't happen. So
it's uncommon.
It is really uncommon. So that'll be a fun game to watch. If you're going to watch hockey, watch tomorrow night. I think it's on ESPN Plus. If you got that. I guess that's all we have, really. We're going to have a trivia question, right? So we had the trivia question, which was, do you remember what it
was? It's the Bengals.
Okay.
It's who's lost the most playoff games.
Yeah, the New England Patriots hold the record for playoff victories with 37. Which team holds the record for most playoff losses in franchise history? And you're going to go with Cincinnati?
That's correct.
Okay. The correct answer is the Minnesota Vikings. Since 1961, they've lost 30 playoff games and won 21. Dallas, by the way, is second with 29 playoff losses. And then I decided that I was going to put a bunch of pictures up here of Minnesota celebrating. They have some great celebrations, by the way.
Yeah.
Team celebrations. There was the Duck Duck Goose. There was the Limbo one. They had the bowling one.
Which is crazy because it's planned out, which means
leapfrog.
they know they're getting into the end zone.
Should have been a penalty, right?
Probably.
Yeah, anyway. But I do like a good team plan celebration. I mean, I don't like the mugging for the camera thing that they started last year. I don't like that, the camera in the end zone. They just went. I don't like that. But I do like a good team plan celebration. The bowling thing was pretty good, I'm going to admit.
Well, they're making a push to try and make it a fun league again after a couple of years there where it seemed like they just did not want to have any fun.
Stop being the no fun league.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so hey, look at that music. That's the out music. We're getting on YouTube every week. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can email us, lambsports@gmail.com. I want to thank ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC Sports, ABC Sports, CBS Sports, so the NBA, the NFL, NCAA, NHL, U.S. Soccer. Of course, our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, Stone White Estates, and Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media, LLC. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.